Kings and queens are born great. Politicians achieve greatness. The young men who took power in Sierra Leone on the 29th of April 1992 had greatness thrust upon them. But unlike kings and queens and politicians, this was an inverted greatness. Captain Valentine Strasser did not have the luxury of dreaming about a presidential inauguration in the Grand Hall of State House with all the pomp and pageantry at hand. His colleagues did not have the leones or dollars to splash out on a poor and hungry voting public to ensure their victory in elections. Neither did they relish the thought of political office or a cabinet appointment with all its perks, a Mercedes-Benz car, a luxury bungalow, and the adulation of their sycophantic followers. No, their coup was a desperate rescue mission. If they had put one foot wrong, the APC government would have had them swiftly executed and dumped their bodies in unmarked graves. Historians would have been directed to relegate their memory to the class of the evil dead of Sierra Leone. But by divine providence, they succeeded. So today, after 1 year in office, Captain Valentine Strasser and his colleagues of the Nprc government are relaxing with the mass of their people for the very first time since the coup. They are relishing the warmth of being accepted and loved by their grateful compatriots. They are getting the message for the first time in this magnitude that their act of bravery was worth every calorie of energy that went into it. Every smile and applause spells joy. For Captain Valentine Strasser and his Nprc colleagues, being great is irrelevant. For greatness is an accolade that should be conferred by a generation after their leaders have bowed out of office. Indeed, it is the misplacing of this greatness that led political sycophants of Sierra Leone in the past to name their main streets, a town, and the national stadium after a former president, and have the face of another adorning the currency notes. Today, the reputation of those two former presidents, Siaka Stevens and Joseph Momo, is in tatters. They failed the nation miserably in their time. And so this occasion is by no means an assertion of greatness. The Nprc and the Sierra Leone people are using it to say, thank God we have survived 1 year together. A happy new year, even though it could have been happier.
You requested that the celebrations marking the first anniversary of the Nprc coming to power should be rather modest, nothing too ostentatious. Why?
Well, we don't think that this is the right time, you know, for Sierra Leoneans to be making very loud celebrations. We are coping with a war that is costing us a lot. And I think we should be thinking and reflecting on what, you know, the past 12 months has been for us as Sierra Leoneans, particularly so relating to the conflict situation. We have thousands of our citizens displaced. We have our soldiers out there at the front paying the ultimate sacrifice. We do not think that the celebration should have been a very loud one. So we thought that we should make it very low-key affair and concentrate our attention in winning the war against the bandits belonging to Mr. Fodisanko.
If the ruling soldiers of Sierra Leone were looking for international approval when they started their first year in office, they might well have given up and committed suicide, because the international media was mercilessly hostile. One newspaper described the Nprc leader as a former disco dancer. In fact, the only acrobatics he and his friends could boast of was dodging rebel bullets and cheating death. African journalists and other political pundits watched Valentine Strasser on the international arena as he pleaded with the world to stop the rebel menace in Sierra Leone. They scorned his youthful appearance. They believed another tyrant, like Uganda's Idi Amin or Liberia's Samuel Doe, had arrived, and his ruthless exploits against his colleagues and his people would provide some juicy front-page material for their papers. Tortures, massacres, and disappearances would be rife in Sierra Leone, they thought.
There have been so many things written in the international press about the NPRC, about you, for example. And I remember hearing someone who thought he knew everything, assessing you in the likeness of ex-President Samuel Doe of Liberia, that now you've come into power, the next thing you were going to do is to kill all your friends around you and bring new friends around, because your friends will constitute a threat to you, and once you've started killing, you would kill anybody else who came in your way, just like ex-President Samuel Doe did in Liberia. Now, we haven't seen this in the first year. I mean, do you hear these things being said about you and written about you? But how do you respond to these things?
Well, what I would say is that we came in as a team, and we're still a team, and we're working together very closely. We do a lot of consultations and dialogue, and we're still together. We think that there are those who want to infiltrate and create, disunity within the core. I will not give into this kind of situations, and I don't see myself as another Samuel Doe anyway.
This international hostility to the NPRC early in the year could have taken its cue from current thinking in America and Western Europe. Germany's ambassador hit the nail on the head when he told me,
"A military government is by definition a dictatorship. It is not a democracy. So, of course, we do not like, it's not an accusation, it is a statement that is completely correct. We do not like military governments. Sometimes it is necessary to have a plot, a coup against an oppressive and tyrant government. We have our own experience with that in Germany. Sometimes that is necessary, but then after such an oppressive government has been toppled, every effort has to be taken to return a country to civilian government, because a military government is by definition not accountable and not based on the elected will of the people of the country.
In their defense, Western countries are taking this stand not because they resent Captain Valentine Strasser and his men in particular, but out of past experience. But Sam Metziger, a famous Sierra Leonean journalist, once said, "Many developments today make nonsense of history." Today, and in full view of these Western friends, the people of Sierra Leone are still hailing their young government, just as they did when it all began last year, in April 1992. The beaming faces here are also sending a message to these generous foreign friends. The message says, "We love the soldiers. We want them around. So please, help them." But perhaps the most shameful aspect of this hostility abroad is that it was shared by some Sierra Leoneans too, especially those living in the United States and Britain. They swallowed all the negative stories about their homeland, the ones in print and the ones that were being peddled and circulated by their LMRs, local ministers of rumor. They did not write or telephone the folks at home to find out the truth. In one shameful incident, an NPRC member on a visit to London was invited to the home of a Sierra Leonean. His hosts watched and giggled as he went on to devour the food with his hand, the African way. They forgot that spoons are not a part of African culture. They forgot that while they were in the West enjoying a cushy lifestyle, this young man was in the bush in Sierra Leone, hungry, weather-beaten, hanging from the jaws of a savage death, trying to save their kith and kin in the village from a merciless band of rebels. They forgot to say thank you. But perhaps today, in this national stadium, tens of thousands of their compatriots are saying it for them. Saying it with their hearts. Saying it with their heads. Saying it with their hands. Saying it with swinging arms. Saying it with smiles. Saying it with their feet. Saying it with their voices. Mr. Head of State gives a speech at this one-year Nprc celebration. Yes, he says, we overthrew the corrupt and oppressive APC civilian government to save our people from suffering. We thank God that not only have we survived the year, a year in which plots were being made to overthrow us in spite of our popularity, but a year in which we did achieve something substantial. We made life a little better for Sierra Leoneans.
Government has also received valuable help from our other friendly countries, including the United Kingdom, the United States of America, the People's Republic of China, and Egypt. In addition, through increased material and logistical support provided by the government, our soldiers at the war front have succeeded in containing further advances by the rebels, and have in fact recaptured some strategic areas formerly under their control. Furthermore, through regular and consistent morale-boosting efforts, the morale of our soldiers at the war front is now very high, and there are hopeful indications that the conclusion of this brutal and savage war is in sight.
That could help to account for the smile on the leader's face today. Last year, it was easier to find a diamond in the mining area of Kono district than to catch a smile from Val. In his office at State House, I asked Captain Strasser for confirmation.
Yes, I think I have plenty of reasons to be a happier man today than I was when we initially came in. As you would recall, when we came in, we outlined our objectives. one of which, in fact, our topmost priority was the speedy conclusion of this rebel menace. You know, this conflict has continued to wreak a lot of damage on our people, and we said as a government that we have intentions to conclude this very black situation as quickly as we could. Well, as of date, we have successfully contained the rebel situation in only one of the provinces, and presently our troops at the front are making steady progress. This is one good reason for us to be happy. And you would also realize that the revolution has created a very strong sense of patriotism amongst our people, and the concept of do it yourself has taken, you know, very strong hold in our communities, and Sierra Leoneans today are realizing that with or without outside help, we can do it ourselves if we have the necessary will and determination to do it.
So what about the gains that the NPRC made in its first year in office? Let's examine the evidence. First things first, the economy. Here's the man in charge, former United Nations expert, Dr. John Karimu.
One major objective we set ourselves in the first year was to reduce inflation from its 1991 level of 119% to about 50% by the end of the financial year, the current financial year, which ends in June. One is pleased to note that, in fact, by the second review undertaken by the IMF of the program, which was in February this year, inflation rate had already dropped to 35%. And as of now, this moment I speak to you, inflation rate is down to 23%.
Which is well above your target.
Well above our target. And of course, we, in addition to that, we did have other economic targets. One of them being the return of fiscal discipline in the public sector. As you know, in the past, government was in the habit of borrowing with both hands, sometimes even with both hands and feet. And one of our targets was to reduce government borrowing from the central bank through the Ways and Means facility.
What do you say, both hands and feet? What do you mean?
Well, it means, there was basically no process for making a rational decision about borrowing money, be it from the public or from external sources. And every department, in the past, could have gone into obligations for government without any central body coordinating those obligations. Those days are gone now.
In the developing world, the price of rice is a key barometer of a country's economic performance.
If we take rice, for example, when the NPRC took over, rice was being sold, depending on where you are in the country, for anything from 10,000 leones upwards a bag, 50-kilogram bag. Since April, May last year, rice, without any intervention from government whatsoever, just because we have encouraged private sector bringing in the rice and competing among them. So rice, the price of rice per bag, has stabilized around 8,200 leones, 8,300 leones.
Does this mean that before your government came to power, the price of rice was fixed by a monopoly?
Indeed, that was part of the problem. I think also it was to do with the fact that the politicians, the political superiors at the time, were themselves either involved in rice dealing or they had a vested interest in it.
And petrol?
Petrol too, I think by and large the price of petrol has been stable. Up to about a month ago, it was going for 1,000 leones per gallon. We have had calls to increase the excise on petroleum products, basically because we need to raise funds to prosecute the war.
So you didn't hear too many complaints about the price of petrol being put up?
No, we didn't hear too many. And indeed, when we put it up, the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, that came after that, which one would have thought would indicate some hike in the price of other related services, since petrol directly affects transportation. We were quite surprised that, in fact, the Consumer Price Index for the month of March only registered an overall price increase of 1.7%.
What makes these successes particularly unique for Sierra Leone is that in this same period, An almost bankrupt government was spending over $1.5 million each month fighting a rebel war.
Has this meant that you've been unable to pay civil servants their salaries and other allowances on time and regularly?
Not really. I mean, on the contrary, I think that's one area where we have overperformed as far as a comparison with the past situation is concerned. In fact, all public workers are paid regularly. In fact, I personally ensure that on the 25th of every month, the Accountant General has to confirm with me that salaries are ready and are being paid up and down the country.
Well, what's been responsible for this kind of success that you are telling me about?
Yes, I think, Hilton, it goes back to my point earlier on about the return of fiscal discipline. Part of that discipline relates also to enhancing our revenue collection exercise. You will probably recall when the Nprc came into power, I mean, one of the earliest things we discovered was that a number of parastatals, for example, and other private limited liability companies owed government millions of leones in taxes, both corporate taxes as well as payroll taxes, taxes that are actually collected by these companies every month from the workers' pay, but never turned over to the Treasury. So, I mean, we have mounted a very intensive revenue collection campaign, which has been very successful. We've also mounted a very intensive anti-smuggling campaign, which also has been successful, which has ensured that what was smuggled, for example, cigarette before, quite a substantial percentage of that is now diverted back into the official channels, which is bringing in some revenue.
Indeed, when John Karimu went to meet the donors in Europe at the end of the NPRC's first year, it was to hear words of praise from the World Bank, from the IMF, and the rest of them, and a promise of greater assistance for the Sierra Leone economy. Sierra Leone has been ranked among the poorest countries in the world in the past, but that could be deceptive. For instance, would you call a person poor if he has millions of dollars in the bank and all he needs is someone to lend him a pair of crutches so he can walk there and get it?
Can you just enumerate the kind of resources you're talking about that we have?
Well, minerals, for example, diamond, gold, bauxite, rutile, or agricultural land that could be used for rice production or for coffee and cocoa production or other kinds of cash crop. Our fisheries resources, all kinds of fishes, I mean high-value fishes, shrimps and things like that. And I think the human resources as well. I mean, I think we are in a very unique position of having all kinds of highly qualified and competent Sierra-Leoneans. I mean, you think of any field, really, I mean, that you require manpower for. I mean, you can always find a few Sierra-Leoneans, I mean, who can meet that need. Except, I mean, I think up to now they have not been properly motivated by our leadership in the past. I mean, for them to return and provide their service for this country. I mean, I'm one example. I mean, I used to work for an international organization simply because in as much as I wanted to serve my country, I don't think the environment was right for me to come and waste my time.
So if we have the potential for prosperity, what is it that Sierra Leone needs most now to develop? Is it money and lots of money from foreign donor countries or agencies, or something else?
I think it's not lots of money. In the short term, definitely, because of all the difficulties and the accumulative effects that we are faced with now, a gigantic problem of infrastructural decay and things like that. I mean, in the short term, we are definitely going to need, I mean, some input from external sources to rehabilitate the economy, rehabilitate our infrastructure. But in my view, I mean, a longer term solution lies in better management of our own resources. So I think the most efficient way, even the international donor community can assist us really, is to provide us with that kind of manpower, technical manpower expertise that will help us improve our management of our own resources. I think that is where the long-term solution lies.
Before the Nprc came, it was easier to go through the eye of a needle than to withdraw your own money from the bank. a Hollywood filmmaker could have made a fortune capturing the scenes of screaming customers demanding their money and perplexed banking officials trying to dodge the verbal missiles because they had run out of cash. Faye Jones-Askill is spokesman for the central bank, the Bank of Sierra Leone. He says it was typical of the money situation at that time.
Before the advent of the Nprc, the country had, in the previous 2 years and before, experienced acute shortage of currency to the extent that the banks had cause to turn away customers who wanted to withdraw from their deposits or to encash checks. And within...
You mean people were turning up to the bank, at the bank, to withdraw the money they had put in, and they were being told that there wasn't enough money to pay them?
Yes, because there was a large extent of currency hoarding, and over 95% of the currency that had been issued by the Bank of Sierra Leone was in the hands of people who were holding the currency.
Instead of in the bank?
Instead of in the bank.
Well, what was causing this? Was there a smuggling of money?
There was some extent of smuggling of money, but the basic reason was that the holders of currency, mostly the produce dealers and the diamond dealers, did not want to transact any of their business in by checks, by way of bank checks or bank draft, and insisted on doing business in cash. And because the currency had depreciated over the last several years by several 100% fold, there just wasn't enough currency to support the level of transactions that they had.
So how has this been bettered, and what do you think has caused the change?
Well, first of all, the exchange rate has stabilized, because the greatest impact, the greatest cause of the currency shortage itself was the very rapid depreciation of the exchange rate. Well, the exchange rate has stabilized, and with that, and the increase in the supply of currency which the central bank has put in, there is now sufficient money in the bank. But I think over and above that, it is the confidence in the new government which has brought this about, because people who were holding currency, the people who had millions of leones literally in vaults in their houses, turned them overnight into the banking system, and within a month the shortage situation had eased.
What about the foreign exchange situation? I mean, people used to complain a lot about unavailability of enough foreign exchange, especially those who were going to travel, and the processes one had to go through seemed to be very complicated. In the end, they got very little to go abroad with. How has that changed?
Well, it has changed dramatically. The trade and exchange system has been vastly liberalized. Now the ordinary man can take up to $5,000 if he can afford it. Is allowed up to $5,000 in travel money without any filling any application forms or any approvals. I mean, that is allowed straight. You can go into your bank or to a foreign exchange bureau and buy the dollars you need. And over and above that, you have to get a permit from the banking system.
What did it used to be before that? What was the limit?
Before that, it was only $500 that was allowed.
So what impact is this improvement in the nation's health having among ordinary consumers and the business sector? Well, this is the Paramount Hotel, the biggest hotel in the heart of Freetown, the capital. It's lunchtime here, and General Manager Mrs. Lily Sawyer is here doing some public relations to ensure that the food is served well, eaten with satisfaction, and no upsets like poor service would bring it back up. As one who supervises the purchase of food items for the hotel, the intake of guests, and runs her own home, Mrs. Sawyer can speak from first-hand experience.
It has been a very trying year because of the war. The country has got smaller, and in a hotel like this within the city, we look on to the local tourists, people coming to do their business, diamond areas and things.
People from the diamond areas?
Diamond areas coming, sleep 1 or 2 nights, have their business done, and return to their base. Same with people coming overseas. With the location of the hotel in the city center, we have them, they come in, the offices are at a walking distance, and these people, because of the war, business has slowed down.
So you haven't had visitors coming from abroad to stay at your hotel, or from even other parts of the country staying in the hotel as much as you used to?
Yes, as much as we used to. Clientele has dropped, but it's beginning to look up. For the past few months, our clientele has gone up to 45, 50, which for this time of the year and in the state of the country, it's not bad at all.
You say it's gone up 45, 50, mean it's gone 50% up or 50% up?
I'm thinking of the general occupancy. When business is booming, we have times 80, 85, even 90% occupancy. When business went down, we went as low as 25, 30. 30 at that time, we were thinking, oh, it's not bad for today. But now it's looking up again. Like today, we are 45.
And you're happy?
I'm very pleased.
Yeah. What about food and availability of food and food prices in the last year?
Well, food, it's a different story because we have now local food available at an affordable cost. What one can afford, you can go to the market and pick up, and you don't have this scramble buying just because you won't find anything in the market the next day.
You're saying you're referring to the shortages that used to exist?
That used to exist. For example, if you can't afford a bag of rice, you go to 2 cups, you go to the market and pick 2 cups. And that day's affair, it's settled. The prices are stable and there is plentiful. Palm oil, 2-3 months ago, went up to about 600 leones per pint. But thank God today, it's 150 leones per pint.
That big a drop?
It's quite a drop. Even when it was scarce, everybody had small. There was no scarcity that it had to go to the black market. That's one good thing to remember.
So what you're saying that the first year of the NPRC has been a year without shortages of food?
This is so. And particularly so, fuel. We are very grateful for the fuel in the market because this has been a whole lot of problem. Even to get fuel for the generators, it's a problem. You can imagine having the generator standing there with no fuel, how frustrating it would be.
And you use generators in this hotel when the electricity power goes off?
We do. We have 2 standby generators, one 75 kVA and the other one 250 kVA.
They consume a lot of petrol?
A lot.
But as a mother, knowing the plight of other mothers, do you think it has been a moment of relief for mothers in Sierra Leone?
Indeed, it has been a moment of relief. The children have something to look forward to. Can you imagine what was some time ago when there were no schools, nothing for mothers to do? Children can go to school, how frustrating it was. Thank goodness, during the year we've had school, and with this youth mobilization, we've seen wonders in the country. We're just wondering what government will do for them to keep this momentum going.
Connaught Hospital is the biggest in Sierra Leone. Last year, in 1992, when we filmed, it was also the most disgraceful commentary on the country's health service. Well, 1 year after, we are back. This is 1993. Although much still has to be done with big money, which is in short supply, the air smells clean. The parking lot has got rid of old and broken down vehicles. There's now a garden and benches. You don't need big money to achieve that. Even with the costly renovations, business houses have joined hands with the authorities to make things improve. Last year, in Ward 7, electricity was only available 30% of the time. Now it is constant. Last year, too, they depended on the elements for ventilation. In 1993, they have fans. The beds have mosquito nets. The floor is gleaming. For the patients, it's a welcome consolation for their sickly condition. And for nursing staff, it boosts morale. For Dr. Francis Jaya, it begins to revive that sense of satisfaction that the years he spent in the corridors of Western universities were not wasted.
Mr. File, I can assure you that since last year, much has been done to improve at least the health status, of this community or the country as a whole. Several wards, have been repaired or more or less refurbished, by foreign and national donors. I wouldn't like to mention any specific names whatsoever, but I'm sure more aid has come from abroad and some from within to do all this work, all geared at improving the lot of the average Sierra Leonean.
So the wards are looking good. We've just seen in them.
Of course, absolutely. They are much better. We have better beds, and I can assure you that the services, in fact, are much better than they were, during the past year or two.
So the fans are spinning around. Do we have electricity now? Constant supply of electricity?
Oh, it seems like a miracle, or more or less a dream, that at long last there is constant supply of electricity, at least in Connaught Hospital. For that alone, we should be very grateful to the present regime.
And it's all nicely painted up?
Of course, yes. Everything has
Floors
been
are clean?
This is true, yeah. You're right. You've seen it yourself. You can prove me right.
Constant supply of water?
Water, of course, that is always available.
Yeah. And the servicing, now we found the wards looking fairly clean. The floors are clean and shining, a marble. Are they serviced generally like this?
Well, I can assure you, Mr. Fay, that even the working staff, in terms of porters or laborers, we call them, are more conscientious now than ever before. The cleaning originally was done once or twice a day, but now it seems as if it is more or less 6 or 8 hourly. But it sounds so impressive anyway.
Why do you think there's a change in people's attitudes? They're not being paid big money now as opposed to before the Nprc government took over.
That question is so interesting, Mr. File. The problem is that, or more or less the mere reason is that everybody tends to be so happy that there is a change. Everybody has become so patriotic, I can assure you. And everybody is ready to at least do his bit to improve, conditions.
Wonderful gardens here, we can see.
Oh, yeah, this was an undertaking by a group called Concerned Women for Health. They've planted all these flowers, and they come here almost every day to water them and even clean them up. Clean them, dirt and other things, from within the garden.
Talk about you. Have you changed yourself?
Well,
you still get the same pay, don't you?
No, of course, I still get the same pay, but
which is low.
Very low, of course, very low as compared to anywhere else in the world. But all the same, the mere fact that our authorities are thinking of doing something, for the overall benefit of everybody entails that I feel there's a change anyway.
And is that inspiring you?
Of course it is, because we are all hoping for a better and brighter future.
The most laudable contribution to the health service in 1992 came from this man, Emmanuel McRae. He runs a local transport company. This is the Princess Christian Maternity Hospital. Women are reputed to be in a nasty mood when they're having a baby here. "Why did you put me into this, you no-good son of a bad man?" they would cry with pain as the little angel enters this world. The husband they're talking to is always at home, waiting for news. Those women might well have posed the question to the previous government of the APC, because under the APC, the PCMH was an abominable eyesore. But a few months into the NPRC's rule, Emmanuel Macrae walked in, spent nearly $100,000 and made this a paradise for expectant mothers.
Did anyone approach you and say, please, Mr. Macrae, come and do this for us?
Okay, yes. The senior doctor and the matron of the hospital secretary. They went to me and then they invited me to come and see the atmosphere of the place, to look after the building. They made a committee, so I went to the meeting and then I attended the meeting. So I went around and looked after the wards. Well, the ward was not too good. So I told them that I could start immediately.
With your own money?
With my own money, not with anybody's money. So I've tried. There was no water in the hospital. The hospital was filthy. No.
It was in a very bad
Very bad manner. No water in the hospital. No light in the hospital. So I spent my money to renovate the hospital from up to down, everywhere.
Tell me what you've done.
Well, I can tell you, and then I could move you around to see what all have I done.
Yeah, just tell me first.
I've done a new system, water system into the hospital. See after the wards. Try to paint in and out of the wards. Put the light into the ward.
So the electricity is back now?
Yes.
Water supply is back?
Water supply is back, electricity is back, because the ward all has been fused up. No bulb inside the ward. I bought over 300 bulbs. Fluorescent bulbs with starter light, everything. I see after the generator. I'm trying now to see after the mortuary, and then I made a park for the patients to get free.
So this park we're looking at, these gardens were all done by you?
All done by me. I tied the compound also.
Yeah?
I renovated all this compound.
You put tiles on the floor of the compound?
Floor, and then the compound.
What about the fountain here?
I built it.
You built the fountain?
Yes, all. Yeah. And then I built the security post also.
Yeah, and the security post is out there?
Yeah. So I tied the compound, the one whole compound, the entire compound.
Why did you do all this?
Because I found the movement of the revolution is on me, because the spirit of the revolution moved me to do this.
In 4 or 5 years' time, if Emmanuel Macrae is in the right place at the right time, who knows? He could be getting a treat like this from children whose mothers benefited from the new surroundings he introduced at the PCM hospital.
Shake waist, shake waist, shake waist, alata, shake waist for me, alata, shake waist for me. For when me mama born me, for when me mama born me, for when me papa born me, for when me papa born me. See the alata, shake waist for me, alata, shake waist for me, alata, shake waist for me, alata, shake waist for me. Shake waist, shake waist, shake waist, arata, shake waist.
Help also came to Sierra Leone from abroad in the NPRC's first year. 4 miles from the Princess Christian Hospital, this school stands as a testimony to that help, which was surely inspired by the NPRC's show of commitment. The S.M. Broderick Municipal School was going to the dogs when the NPRC came to power on April 29, 1992. Well, that was in 1992. This is 1993, 1 year later. And here's the story.
Oluturna, you work for the company that doing the repairs, and you're a work supervisor here. Tell me about the repairs here. Tell me what you've done already. Anyway.
Well, we've already changed all the doors in the whole school because there was no doors in the school. Then the windows. There was no windows, no toilet, nothing.
So you're putting
everything back.
You're glazing all the
Yes,
windows again?
All, yes. We're glazing all the windows again. Fixing new doors, but again.
All right.
Yes.
And what about the toilets?
There was no toilets. But now we have already fixed all the toilets now. New toilets. Yeah.
We've just seen one, and some still have to have the taps fitted on them.
Yes.
Right. And what about the desks? And I see the desks are back.
Well, yes, that is from Plan International.
Okay. So Plan International have provided what?
The desk.
The desks and the benches.
Yes.
Okay. So all the desks and the benches in the school now, are they new?
Yes, they are new.
All right. Okay. So this is a total renovation of the building?
Yes, total renovation.
What else are you going to do now?
Well, we're going to start right down in the basement.
You're going to develop the basement?
Basement, yeah.
For use by the school?
Yes.
Let me turn to you now, Ibrahim Kalon. You're a teacher here.
Yes.
And I came here a year ago to do a documentary and showed this school as a sign. You saw me here.
Yes.
As a sign of the dilapidation and the rundown and decaying situation of the education system in this country. Now, your school was used as an example.
Yes.
This is looking good, isn't it?
Oh, very, very much. Very much. I'm happy now. Even the time I came here, when I was transferring to this school, I told my education officer that I don't want your services any longer once you have transferred me in this school. You want me to suffer, you see, because although where I was first at Obed School, it was far more better than even when I came, you see.
So when you tell me what happened, when you came here, it was very bad.
Very bad, extremely bad. In fact, the school was not called a school, but even just like a market area.
So all that the teachers told me last year, a year ago, was true about the school?
It was. Certain.
So what happened since then?
Now we are happy. Even the children are turning up. They are proud of the school. Even the teachers coming out, because sometimes the passerby always call the school a private school. They will tell them that no, this is not a private school. It's the work of the new revolution.
Why did they call it a private school? Because
now everything is new, I could say, and then if it is there, because all along when the benches are coming, the people standing looking at them,
they couldn't believe it.
Yes, they can't believe it. In fact, sometimes they call the school a graveyard, a diamond school.
They used to call it like that. Huh?
Yes.
And now they think it's a private school.
Yeah, it's a private
because
school.
it's looking very good.
Very
and the
good.
surroundings are also clean.
Oh, everywhere. You can see it. Everywhere is clean. Even boys coming to play ball, they are not coming no longer.
So there's more respect for the school now among the people in this vicinity.
Yes, actually. Yeah. Everybody wants to bring their own children here now. So there's more education.
I mean, we must be honest and say this is not what every school looks like now.
Yes. Because all our schools, they don't provide chairs and even benches for the children, even chairs for the, let's say the chalk alone which we write on the blackboard are not provided in most schools, except for private schools.
So it's still the case that many schools are suffering and
they are suffering
in a bad way and dilapidated and decaying, but there is an improvement.
Yes, there is a change since this year now. There is a change.
So the teachers, the morale among teachers and pupils in this school at least is higher now.
Yes, the rapport is very good. The rapport is very good.
What hasn't changed?
But it's only the salary structure, which even now, not here, but all over the country, teachers are still grumbling about the salary structure.
The pay is too low.
It's too low, extremely low. You cannot buy even a pair of shoes for you. I'm sorry, for me. Because a pair of shoes is going for 25,000 leones. Then we cannot get that one. That's why when we are coming, even the children, you see, they laugh at most of the teachers. They see your
Children
shoes.
laugh at you?
Yes.
Why?
Well, because we cannot afford to buy better shoes, better dressing, to stand in front of them, to teach them.
Did you receive your salaries on time last year?
No. The time of the APC time, there was 40 days in a month. And even they made their calendar for April as 31 days in April.
But what about this past year of the NPRC? What happened?
Well, we are getting our salaries on time, only that the salary structure is very low.
So tell me, do you like these desks? Huh?
Yes.
You like them?
Yes.
Are they nice?
Yes.
They're new, aren't they?
Yes.
Huh? Okay. And what about the chairs? Are they comfortable?
Yes.
They're very comfortable.
Yes.
And you like the school now, huh?
Yes.
Huh? What do you like about the school now?
They have repaired it.
Huh? Loud!
They have repaired it.
They have repaired the school, isn't it?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
Clap for yourself, come on. That's good. That's good. That's good.
Another place where learning is better than silver and gold, but could do with more of a gold at the moment, is Forobe College. Here, at the University of Sierra Leone's main campus, there was joy in 1992 among the students that their old foe, the APC government, had gone. Their Handels and Beethovens, their Mozarts, wasted no time capturing the mood of the moment with songs like this. Yes, they said, with the former police chief and the ousted president out of the way, the APC was finished. Well, that was a few days after the NPRC took over in 1992. After 1 year of the NPRC, opinions are now divided among the students. Some wanted to move mountains, some wanted to move faster, others are delighted.
The Nprc, in their very first term of office or so, well, they are much impressive. Impressive in the sense that there are changes occurring. If you take into consideration that of transportation, okay, the repair of roads and all that things, at least they should be given credit in that area.
They have not been able to conquer the war, and that is the main reason why I am not impressed about it, because they have not been able to conquer the war.
You see, the NPRC in their very first place, they started well, but with situations on campus, they are now diverting. They are not giving us the basic necessities on campus. Like, yes, light, water supply, you see, and at least these are things we need on campus. You see, transportation, books in the library, and all these things are not here.
Well, I would say my very first impression about them was that of doubt. You know, I created so many doubts, you see, because the situation is not only restricted to Sierra Leone here. I mean, we have seen, we have read, we have witnessed so many military governments all over Africa, you see. So we started expressing doubts as to whether in fact they were going to deliver the goods. More so when we looked around them and saw that most of them were just youths as ourselves, and in fact most of them were even older than them. But well, in fact, that was why some of us even refused initially, you know, to call the whole thing as a revolution, because they started tagging it as a revolution and that kind of thing. And for God's sake, we need, in order that we call something a revolution, it has to satisfy certain basic qualifications. But then, as time went on, 6 months later, 7 months, 8 months, well, we started seeing certain visible changes. For instance, when we went downtown, we would see people embarking on town cleaning campaigns, cleaning streets, etc., etc. And we saw even the youths. Some of us went down in the streets and we saw youths, people that have been idling by, people with, normally in our Sierra Leonean language, we call them servicemen and that kind of thing. You know, they were all in the streets, holding shovels and that kind of thing, working hard. And I think we started changing our minds again.
In relation to the suggestion box, okay, they placed one up here, and for a period of time, they know this the seat of learning here. And so here is where they can get criticisms and constructive ones too. But after a certain period of time, I mean, if you look back, you cannot see the suggestion box.
They were taken away?
Yes, they were taken away.
And some of them, at least, when they meet you on the street, they drive very, very fast, and at least they cause some sort of accident.
Now that the press laws have been repealed, at least it will give us time again to read favorite papers that could not meet the guideline requirements.
As a displaced student, whenever we go downtown to seek for food, when we go to these donors and businessmen, they often tell us that they have channeled their own help to the central government. And when we go to central government, most times they turn us down, telling us about accountability and all the rest. And most times we don't have food. We spend most of our time going out looking out for food. And to the scholarship, most of our brothers, including myself, haven't got scholarship.
With reference to the spiritual atmosphere of the country, I want to commend the chairman having come out with the idea of a week fasting. And indeed, he has proved to us that he is someone that is spiritually minded, somebody that is having the fear of God in him. So I just thank God for him because others fear it, and he has come out playing.
I think attention should be paid to the relationship between our country and the foreign countries, especially countries like Britain and others who we understand are pressurizing the new government, a very young government as it is, to paces wherein this of our governments will be adhering to principles of the Western democracy, of the Western own concept or ideologies in politics.
What you're saying is that you see the Western governments trying to get the Sierra Leonean government to behave like them.
Like them, that's what I'm saying.
You think that's,
and that is wrong. That is not fair. So I think they should leave the government to utilize its own resources, especially its own human resources, in a way that is better for the betterment of everybody in the country.
There is a big psychological satisfaction among Sierra Leoneans. And I can say personally that even among students here, we are psychologically satisfied when we want to compare the time we were under the regime of the APC and now. They have not done much yet, but they have very little time yet. And we are supposed to give them time. Maybe they will do more than they can, but because of the war, they can't do what we expect of them to do now. So I think there is a big satisfaction in the mind, because when we live here, we hope we'll get a job. But before this time, we never thought we'll get one.
Well, if we can't get a song here now because opinions are divided, we might as well go somewhere else. Anyone who thinks these young men have been having a fine time at the helm in Sierra Leone only has to listen to Lieutenant Khalifa Kagbo, who has held one of the top posts in the government since they came to power.
So what is it like being in this kind of a job, a coordinator, the Secretary General of the government, the Nprc government, and in a sense, the man who has to keep things together? How easy or difficult a job has it been for you?
Well, I can say that being a member of government isn't glamorous. It's pure hard work. A general day starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it entails meeting people, sometimes giving talks, a lot of paperwork, coordination, keeping records, and most of the time my staff and I do not leave here before 8 o'clock at night. And this is typical not only for me, but for a lot of my colleagues. It really is hard because there are lots of things that we have to make sure happen. And considering the time frame in which we have to work, we have to make sure they will happen now. And that means putting in a lot more effort. And obviously, we know that the future of the country is at stake. We have a short time. So it's just giving it our best shot.
How difficult a year has it been? I did hear at the start some people predicting that by the end of your first year, you and the members of the Nprc would have all grey hairs on your head.